In this video it's titled Collecting Swiss Military Rifles. This is going to be the start of a series where I'm going to look at my collection of Swiss Schmidt-Reuben straight pulls. Now, I've done a lot of work with the Swiss Vetterli. I've made some videos about the different types of guns, but most of my work was done on converting them to center fire and reloading for them. Unfortunately, that has kind of gotten to where I am kind of getting out of that at this point in time. But Swiss rifles, they were kind of unusual. Vetterlis have been around a while, and back in the early part the 1900s, prior to World War I and that, a lot of these things ended up on the surplus market, and so many of them to the point where I think Winchester and Remington made the rimfire ammunition for these guns up until 1928 or 29. And they were said to be quite popular as a deer hunting rifle, and a lot of them were shortened and cut down. But after a while, back say to the 60s and 70s, the Vetterlis were a curiosity. And another thing, you couldn't get ammunition for them, okay, other than finding stocks of the old rimfire ammo. So it wasn't a gun that was a very popular gun to collect. People had them as wall hangers and decorations and things like that, but very few people would seek them out or pay anything for them. You could find these things, and they weren't high-priced guns. Now I guess a good one that has a good bore in it and everything, you're looking at $400 to $500. Okay, why did they become popular? Because it is pretty simple to convert these to center fire, and you can fabricate ammunition to get these guns to shoot. Henceforth, their popularity has risen. They've become more desirable. Parts are hard to find, and it is a fad. Now we go to the Swiss straight pulls again. And you have to realize, days before the internet, and there's collectors pages on Facebook, and there's several collectors social media things where collectors can get together, post photographs, and talk to each other, fairly reasonable, and at either no cost or little cost. My MeWe is doesn't have any restrictions, but it's $3 a month. But now I have pages, people can meet, talk about these guns, and share photos and information. Where in the past, it wasn't like that. Before the internet and everything, even the guns themselves, you could have a dealer order you some from the Shotgun News if you wanted, if you were on good terms with the dealer. And generally what it was is most of them would charge you a premium. Whatever the advertised price was in the shipping, you paid that. When a gun arrived, you paid him $50 or more, depending, and he would order you whatever. Okay, that was in the old days, and the only source you had was Shotgun News or something, or a magazine, a gun magazine, an actual printed piece of paper. There was no internet, there was no search engines, and there were no smartphones. So these things kind of didn't gain a lot of popularity. Okay, like I said, you'd find these in closets, or somebody'd have one or something, or hanging on a wall, and that was about it, and really weren't worth a lot of money. Now when it came to the straight pulls, they were another oddity. They were around for, the Swiss were selling these guns on the surplus market for, like I said, forever. Vetterlis, all that. They were on the U.S. market. I know they're popular in Europe because in Europe they're some of the only guns you can own are the antique guns, depending on the country's laws. So the Schmidt-Rubin straight pulls, I mean, I've seen them around probably in the heydays of the 50s and that. They might have brought a bunch of them in. And the problem with the Schmidt-Rubins was ammunition and reloading for them. Okay. I remember a gun dealer bought an estate, and he had I think it was a 1911 carbine. It was in there. And the gun owner, or the guy that owned the gun shop, basically when I come in one day, I was walking through and looking at stuff. He more or less begged me to buy this rifle because he said, you can't get ammo for it, no one's going to buy it, nobody even knows what it is. And he goes, this gun will stay in my shop until I retire. He goes, could you please, he asked me, it's in good shape. It had a cracked stock, but it was in nice condition. And at the time, really, even though Norma made a lot of these calibers, like the Japanese calibers, and the only 7.62 by 39 you can buy was Norma ammo. And that back in the late 70s was $20 a box. Okay, when you could go buy a box of rifle cartridges for just about any caliber commercially produced in the US for about $5, $5 to $6. Okay, so you're talking, it'd be like saying $80 a box now. Also, the dies were probably special order. And I bought the gun, and I bought the guy that he got it out of the estate. He had a huge thing of reloading equipment, reloaded ammo, and components and everything. And Don was the gun shop owner. He offered me the whole reloading thing. When he got it in, he said, give me X amount of money and take all of this. It was like boxes and boxes of stuff. So I bought it all, and there were reloading dies in there. And when I went through the dies, I found a set of dies for the 7.5 Swiss. They were marked in the box herders, and if you looked at them closely, they were CH4D dies. Now this is back in the 90s, and this was sitting around a while, so this is like the 70s, 60s, maybe even the 50s when this guy bought all this stuff. So I took the rifle, gave it to my father for Father's Day, and it hung on the wall in his den forever. Okay, and then when I moved, he told me to take the gun with me. He more or less gave it back to me. And I brought it here, I had it, and when I had to raise money to buy my home, I ended up selling a lot of guns, and that was one that went because I never fired it. Now, when you look at the problem around these guns, one good thing about the Schmidt-Rubins is they're 30 caliber, so you can get the bullets fairly easy and inexpensive. Same thing like 30 caliber bullets, very common. Problem was the brass. And I think somewhere at one point, some company in Japan was making Boxer Prime brass for reloading for these guns. And this is going back 40 years or more. Okay, this isn't now. Now you can still, I guess, get the brass from Norma, but PPU makes it, and it's 70 cents a case or something like that. It's not that expensive. So now it's kind of feasible to reload for these guns. The old dies I had, I sold because I bought a huge collection of reloading equipment, and there was a set of RCBS dies in 7.5 Swiss, which RCBS stopped making a lot of these custom order dies, so I don't know if they still can be made. And I believe Lee even makes, with the popularity of the Schmidt-Rubins, I think Lee makes a set of dies for it too. So getting dies is easy to find. It uses a 30 caliber bullet. So the popularity of this obscure gun has taken off in recent years. Also, the strange thing about it is when people didn't understand about it, there wasn't a lot of information about them. People had a tendency not to seek them out, pay for them, or anything else. Well, now with the internet, the Schmidt-Rubens, everyone makes videos, and then somebody goes out there, well, these guns are high quality, they're well made, they're accurate, and that's where we're kind of screwed, is in recent years when large amounts of these were coming into the country, okay, and the ammunition was available. Granted, it was Barrett and primed, but it was quality ammo, the last type of ammo made for this gun. So a lot of these rifles and shootable, fairly new ammo arrived. They skyrocketed in popularity, and the price went up on them. When someone said, "Oh, these are a bargain at $300," now you're looking at $500-600 for a lot of these guns. So popularity is there. Now, and they go up in value. So that's why you kind of collect them. They are a neat gun. They're interesting to study. We're going to do that. Now, one thing I tell you, if you are interested in these rifles, either one, for collectors only, Swiss Magazine loading rifles, 1869 to 1958, by North Cape Publications. I've done a review on this book. This book is available on Amazon. Okay, and there is a updated version. This one's still about $20-some, almost $30, and they have a new version with a different jacket than this one. That's about $46. Buy the book, even if you only own one gun. The serial numbers are in here. There's an accurate description of all the different models. There's a ton of information for a very small amount of money. Instead of you buying one of these guns and sending me an email and wanting to know what year it was made or all these questions, buy the damn book. Okay, I collect a lot of guns. I can't keep all this in my head, and to answer a question, go out of my way, buy the book. It's $30. Okay, you'll be a damn expert like me on these weapons if you buy this book and read it. And there's a lot of useful info. I'm going to come back to this book because when it came to reloading for this 1889, I found an answer to something in the book. Okay, so it is useful. So the book's good. All right, so, why do you collect anything? They're interesting guns, and now we're going to go take a look at the guns. I'm going to get into the details about the Schmidt-Rubens. I've done enough with the Vetterlis, but, they are antiques. These two are antiques, can be sent directly to you. That's another plus in collecting antique guns, okay? Cut down on the paperwork and the hassle, and you can use them. But that's my intro and that about collecting Swiss rifles. Like I said, in the past, they weren't very popular and you could pick them up fairly reasonable. They weren't a top seller until the internet and everyone started talking and networking, and then they became extremely popular and people like them, and the prices shot up, and they are quite collectible now. And have gone up in value. So that's one way of looking at it. All right, guys. I'm going to start talking about the individual guns. Basically what I'll do is show you my collection and go through my collection is comprehensive. Basically I have the common models and an example of them. I don't have the rare ones or the unusual ones, which would be difficult to find. But in context, most of you probably have one of the guns I have in my collection, so it will be beneficial to you. All right, thank you guys, and stay tuned.